So we're going to do several things for you today. First, we're going to introduce ourselves in Tewa, which is the language we speak, Tewa. Then we'll introduce ourselves in English. Then we are going to give you some ideas of how we learn together. Even though I am the mentor, I am also acquiring language. I'll give you a brief overview of the Indigenous Language Institute's involvement in the SCALE curriculum. And if we have time, we'll show you 2 of the trailers that have been prepared for an upcoming documentary. Uwawatamu na kaware tsawe kawe.
Na hohetsu kawe.
Na kotse gawe kawe.
Na kwanse kawe.
Good morning, my name is Laura Jagels. I am from Tusuki Pueblo. I am also Shoshone and Paiute.
Good morning, my name is David Naranjo. I'm from the pueblos of Santa Clara, San Juan, and Cochiti.
My name is Nathan Montoya. I'm from Pewaukee Pueblo.
Jeremy Montoya, also from Pewaukee Pueblo.
So the pueblos or the villages we're from, if you're not from New Mexico, are the northern Tewa-speaking tribes. There are 6. So Tusuki is closest to Santa Fe, then Pewaukee, where the 2 boys on this side are from, and Santa Clara. So we're representing 3 of those Tewa-speaking villages. This program started in the spring of 2010 with 5 participants. 3 are siblings. They're David's brother and sister, Jeremy, and another Pewaukee Pueblo member, and her name is Poqueen Rivera. So Poqueen and both of David's siblings are off onto college right now, so they couldn't be with us. The program started at Santa Fe Preparatory School that started recruiting Native students into the program. We have 325 students in a 7th through 12th grade school. ILI came to Santa Fe Prep in hopes of creating a program that would utilize self-motivated learning. They hope that the teenagers would be the ones to decide, I want to find a mentor, and they can tell you more about that. So a partnership was created with Santa Fe Prep, Pewaukee Pueblo, and ILI. Over time, I ended up becoming the mentor, and the use of the scale was really, really important. There were certain things like encouraging people to ask, how do you say? So how do you say in your native language? And then ask their relatives, how do you say this? How do you say that? And that was the beginning of the program. Other information included in the scale were greetings, relatives in relation to other relatives, beyond numbers and colors. And that's what the students wanted to explore, beyond numbers and colors, because it started becoming repetitive for them and they wanted to learn more. Scale was also really a great piece of information that was flexible. So I didn't have to always continue the greetings one week. I could decide, they want to learn this other thing about food or feast days or etiquette or greetings, different things. So when they came to me and started asking me, I want to learn how to say this, or they came to a class and they started talking to each other, like one day somebody came in and gave beef jerky. So I was like, you can say beef jerky, bibita. How do you say that? And how do you ask for it? No, I don't want any. Yeah, I want some. No, I don't want to give you any. So we just kept going back and forth with that. So that became the class. So it really became what they wanted to learn, not me dictating to them, even though I may have a plan B. And just to let you know, I am a teacher. I teach English. I teach Southwest literature to 7th graders. So I'll let them tell you a little bit more later, but what we want to do for you is a skit that Nathan wrote. So basically how they created these skits is they write the skit in English, and then as much as I can translate with what I know, I will translate. But then I will ask my brother-in-law and my mom and anybody else who's willing to help me. I will go spend time with them and ask them, did I say this right? Is this the right way? And of course I get corrected too. No, that sounds funny. So then I have to repeat it. I've been using my cell phone to record. They've also been using technology, and they'll tell you more about that too. So they're gonna perform the morning skit with you, and then after that we'll do one more thing, and then we'll go through some other things. So it's a few things, so you won't get bored with us talking all the time. So get ready.
People, how
He won't know how to sing.
He haram hasing.
Na weedy, he won't who young bidi na hedendi.
Sekane nawa wiri huyampi.
Heya unkoda handi ne hedendi.
Ga we pasa, hera we agenda, hera we bua ari.
Na we ko pingda hera buari.
Na wiri hi api hai.
Boro sengumu. U a hanging na pi, hawi he won't dana mu bi.
Oha ding handi nandi, heranku na ari katsiwe hi an.
Katsiwe abu ari.
Ha katsiwe abua ari shanki na kagi.
Na tsiri ahera papa ari. Di ham nambi sayong ta.
Ha henk damanku na dronko.
Di kema iha amidi.
Yaho gamui handi hera hon gapoa ipiri.
Ha na wait gin ho din bo hadan ho o boari.
Na hayun wembo heren di hera hon o escuela I o poa. Na imbi wate da hera hon di kayen nambi escuela I.
Wimunyahe.
Ha hera uya wimunyahe.
So one thing that's really hard for me and as a learner and for them is hearing the correct pronunciation, and we just practice and practice and practice over and over. And it's hard for me to have patience to say, no, that's not how it's said. And so I'm really practicing a lot of patience, and then the people who are teaching me have to practice a lot of patience. So I'm in their shoes when I'm telling them, no, repeat it again. And there's my mom and saying, no, say it again. So we're all struggling with patience here. The other thing we wanted to, because I'm not a fluent speaker. I don't consider myself fluent in Tewa. So the way that we tried to just say no English was to pass around a ball and just say the first thing, the first Tewa word, the first Tewa anything that came to our mind. It didn't have to make sense. It could just be one word. It could be a phrase. It could be an idea. Anything from the beginning when they first took Tewa class, or anything they've learned from their relatives, anything that comes to mind. So they're gonna do that right now. they're going to, we don't necessarily have to pass the ball. We can just go in order. So do you want me to participate? Okay. So make sure you speak into the mic when you say something and turn over your skit. Okay, so I'll start. And will this table participate by, if there's 4 of us, you're going to do math. So there's 4 of us, count 1 time every time it gets to Jeremy, and then we'll multiply that times whatever, times how many times it gets to him, and then times 4. So then we know these are the numbers of words or phrases we were able to say within a time period where we finally exhaust ourselves. Okay. Diun Kim.
Navi Kema.
Bobby.
Osoge.
Uwinu.
Mang.
Fa.
Go.
Share.
Pa.
Toa Anto.
Go Feng.
Duyong.
Share Wage.
Tewa.
Kwa'a.
Korami.
Po.
Polamimi.
Posiwi.
Bing.
Po.
She'e.
Dei.
Gwa'a.
Po.
I already said Kwa'a.
Oh, did you?
Go back.
Anto.
Kun Share.
Tambe.
Kwantebe.
Bokwing.
Tiguanu.
Bang.
Baba.
Bua.
Tiguanu.
O.
Oku.
A.
Pop Wage.
Sen.
Nei.
Tidi.
Betsure E.
Sekane.
Mangho.
Otuabe.
Hotu Ambe.
Ko Mengri.
Hatboa.
Cat Boamu.
Ko.
Ya Mengri.
Hawang.
He won't.
Heaten.
Otuve.
Papi po.
Sa won't.
Sa Wogi.
Ke.
Bong.
Tiwena.
Tambe Pe.
Nao Hasem.
Akompet.
Trumpet.
Nao Hasing. Betsure Waba.
Pimpe.
Nei I Tete Wabang. So yonda po.
Now Yoda.
Nao Podo.
Kuyo.
Go etzere.
Zehuang.
Kheng.
Tambe Pe.
Boa.
Ka.
Leeva.
Ke E.
Wa.
Anyuke.
Wasipo.
Apo.
Posuage.
Owinge.
Takiribo.
Neta.
Tete.
Meme.
Kujo.
Ye.
Dada.
Is it Tete? Tete. Oh, Saya.
Sido.
Posedo.
Kuya. You already said that? Zi.
Zitebe.
Tansido.
Share Wage.
I said that.
Share.
Wage.
Oyegi.
Tum.
Tsi.
Oji.
Zawai.
Ojipo.
Weho Navi A.
Ding Weho Navi A.
Koe.
Po.
Na o te
Zi. Or oya.
Na o te I uari.
Oku. Buganini.
she'e.
Shuan.
Bang.
Shua'e.
Satebe.
Agoyo.
Watuave.
Hano tu.
Ogoyo hoi.
Bingo.
Meko.
We.
Oyawe.
Zei.
Naeve.
Weije.
Te kui.
Too fast. Dansedo. You said that? Bolsedo.
I said that.
Hau eng navi sawogi.
Hauhona si.
Heraun diradi kegem api.
Na vi hakandi.
Navi.
So how many rounds did you count? Times 4. So 124?
And you're an English teacher?
Yeah. So 124 of these words or phrases for that amount of time. And I think that's been our average, huh? So far. A little bit more. Good, huh? So what we're going to do now is tell you a little bit about how they decided or why they decided to learn Tewa and whether or not it's impacted them. And that was in the spring of 2010. So the two boys on the ends have been a part of the Tewa program since 2010. Nathan just started last year. So the other thing that happened as a result of the partnership with Santa Fe Prep is the following school year, unfortunately, the program wasn't refunded. The second phase of the program wasn't refunded because it was a pilot project. But the school picked me up and allowed me to continue to teach Tewa and offer Tewa to only the Tewa Pueblo-speaking members, which I think is interesting because our school is a private school and it's predominantly Anglo. So just to let you know, there was a little bit of tension with some of the Anglo kids who wanted to learn, and I had to clearly tell the faculty and administrators that that's something that my leaders have asked, that we only teach our Tewa language to our members. So they're really supportive with that, and they continued the program. So this year I only have Jeremy and Nathan learning in independent studies right now. So they picked it up with the school, and the school pays me for that now. So go ahead.
Could you repeat the question?
Why did you want to learn Tewa in the first place? Why did you become a part of this process of learning? And how has that changed your, I guess, worldview or point of view or your perspective as a teenager on your life and what's ahead for you?
Well, I think I wanted to learn Tewa because I didn't have it too much at home. There's only a handful of speakers in my tribe. And it kind of hit me one day when they told me that there was only 8 speakers in my entire tribe of 400 people. And I was like, it's up to my generation to get this going, because if I don't do it, then that means the next kid in my generation doesn't want to do it. And if none of us are going to do it, then it's just going to die out. So I kind of felt responsible in that aspect to learn my language, but that wasn't my case. What about you, David?
The reason why I wanted to learn the language is because I felt socially disconnected with my tribe, because whenever I'd practice in traditional doings, I didn't know what they were singing, what they were saying, and so I was just really eager to learn to touch back to my community as a whole, so that's why I wanted to learn.
I wanted to learn, like, for the reason that there was only so many speakers in the Poake Pueblo, and I felt sort of an emptiness inside me that I needed to learn the language and just carry it on through many more generations, especially because the language is dying off. And that's why I wanted to learn.
One of the other things that I think many of us who either know our language or are learning our language is that it has its own being. And what I understood when I started learning was, or teaching, was that I kept wondering why I was at prep, because I'm teaching Anglo kids. My goal was to teach them about Southwest literature, or Southwest people through the literature. That was my goal. And to change this local community to better understand Native people through the literature. That was my purpose for being there. And at this point, before the program came, I was struggling. I wanted to heed the words of our leaders, which is go back into your community and help your people. I had already done that. But the community came there. The students started arriving and they requested help. And I told them it wasn't us that brought each other together, it was the language. And the language brought us together, and it's gonna do things for us. It created a family for us. And it has done some other wonderful things that we're gonna show you, like the trailer, or getting other people involved and spreading the word about sustaining our languages. And one of the opportunities we have this year is to present at a national conference for teachers of English, which is ironic, but I think it's necessary. So Jeremy and Nathan are going to attend that conference, as well as Marissa and Poqueen. So we're flying them out to Chicago in next month. The other conference that we were able to have an opportunity to attend was a language conference in Australia. And David's brother Jordan went with me, and Jeremy went with me. And I'll let Jeremy tell you a little bit about that. But a part of that came out of the technology use that was also part of the pilot project. And Jeremy can tell you a little bit about Miramar and how we met them at a different conference in Oregon. So Jeremy, tell them a little bit about that, and talk about how now being a presenter at conferences and an international conference what has been the impact for you?
Well, in order to start this long journey, we had, as Miss Laura Jagels was talking about, we had been allowed to go to this pilot program, and after us just learning our language, we would spend weekends, like hours and hours after school and weekends, just learning our language. And the ILI staff ended up offering us the chance to go to Oregon. And we're like, sure, why not? Why wouldn't we want to go somewhere new, explore new things, just because we're learning our language? So when we went out to Oregon, we met the man who created the program called Miramar. And the Miramar program was the whole basis of this program, because he created this language software that basically allowed us to input our language into the computer, allowed us to secure our language and basically have the ability never to be touched by time and changes. You could have input audio, you could input pictures, you could input phonetic, you could even lock sacred words that you don't want anyone else to know. It was just this program that allowed us to utilize technology in a whole nother sense for language. And when we went to Oregon, we ended up meeting him. His name was Darren, and we offered him to come and look at what we had done because like we were like in awe that he was a celebrity to us. Like he was this guy who made this program. And he was just amazed that his program made it all the way into the States while he was in Australia. And his program had made it that far and was making an impact on people. And so when we offered him to come to our presentation, he came and he was just awestruck. We were there half an hour later than we should have been. We're talking with everyone, just having a good time. And we traded information, and he later contacted us and asked us if we would present in Australia at his conference. And we're like, of course we would love to go to Australia. Why not? Go explore new things just because we're learning our language. And so we sold snow cones in November. We were fundraising. We were doing everything we could just to go to Australia. And me and David's brother, Jordan, ended up finally getting to go. And it was just amazing seeing the people out there and just the amount of hope they had. But there was one moment in particular that me and Jordan kind of like it hit us. We were cruising down the streets in Brisbane, which is north of Sydney. It's like the Santa Fe of Australia. So we were just cruising around, and there was some street performers. And they were the Aboriginal people. And they were sitting there in their native attire and like playing their didgeridoo, which they call a yidaki. If you ever need to know, go to Australia, it's called a yidaki. And they were playing it, and me and Jordan were just watching them, and we asked them if we could sit down and take their picture, and we bought their CD. And before you know it, like an hour later, we're sitting there talking to them, asking them like what's your guys' struggles? Like, tell us your story. And so we were telling them how we got there, they were telling us their struggles. And they were the exact same boat our people were in 30 years ago. The federal government didn't recognize them, even though they exploited their paintings, their art, their instruments, everything, but they didn't get any recognition whatsoever. And it was disheartening, to say the least. And we just told them, keep on fighting. We were in the same boat. And just that kind of hope that there's other people out there that are going through the same thing as us. It was just inspiring for especially me, just to keep going. Just little things like that people are always fighting. And we kind of had a hope trading. We gave them hope because we showed them that it is possible, that these things can happen. And they gave us hope by sharing their knowledge and sharing what they've been doing and just giving us the hope to keep on going. And so that's how we went to Australia, and that was the best part. And when we came back, I kind of felt it was more responsibility, that it was up to me to influence people, like my cousin here, and just getting the people to be aware. And going to conferences like this, I hope I could give you the same hope that was given to me by the Aboriginals and by everyone else who has ever supported me and who has ever helped me keep going, like with Amy and the ILI crew, and just everyone, pretty much. So I hope that this is very hopeful to you somehow, in any way. But thank you.
And one of the things that I started doing was being more adamant about asking my mom or asking my brother-in-law to help me, or really telling my family members, talk to me more. And I remember my mom telling me, but it's awkward. And I said, what makes it awkward? And she said, hearing you speak Tewa. And I said, well, we have to get used to it. We have to get beyond that awkwardness just to continue. And I remember one of my cousins learning when she was in high school, and I remember her asking her parents, I want to learn now. And I was small then, and I told my mom, I wish I had that feeling inside, like I want to too, me too. But I never vocalized it, and they are vocalizing it. And it's really, really important as adults that we give them the time, that we say, yes, okay, we will. Because I think a lot of times we as communities, and we all know, we deny each other a lot of times. We deny who we are when we don't speak our language. When we decide we're going to speak English on a phone conversation, we deny who we really are in that sense. So if we continue to give the students time or give our family members time, that's what we need to do, and that's what I've been trying to do with my family. But again, it's all about just doing it. Did you want to add anything to what he was saying? Nathan had asked me, can I go to Australia, please, Miss J? They call me Miss J. And I said, well, we already set up, we don't have that much money, we have a limited amount of money. And he heard about us going to Chicago, and he said, can I go? So Nathan, why do you want to go? And now that you're going, what do you hope to do there?
Well, I started off wanting to go because I just heard all the stories that Jeremy was telling everybody about Australia, and how opening of the eyes it was to him. And I was like, well, maybe that can help me get more motivated to learn Tewa and just keep me on the right path of learning Tewa. And now that I'm going, I feel like it's just going to lead me into the right path so I can keep on going and just keep teaching my younger siblings and everybody else in my family that would like to know as I continue my journey learning, and I want to teach as I go.
One of the other things I wanted to share about the Australian perspective is just the way they call their fluent speakers. I think fluent speakers lacks something, and they called each other knowledge carriers. And I thought, wow, that's beautiful, because when you think about a water carrier, they're not going to carry that water for the rest of their lives, or you hope they don't. And there will be new carriers. And so when somebody is carrying knowledge, we know that we're only here for a certain amount of time. And it tells that person who carries that knowledge to be sure to pass it on. And it reminds the young people that they too are going to carry it on. And I hope that maybe that's a new phrase that we pick up from our Indigenous brothers and sisters across the world, that if you're a fluent speaker, you're a knowledge carrier. And you are a positive member of our communities. And I think that's something else that I learned. A lot of the reasons, and you already know this, but I was really upset with my mom that she chose not to teach me. But she made that decision because her husband wasn't from our community. And what I learned was that she did that out of love, not to prevent me from carrying something, but she had a really hard time learning English. And I think a lot of you understand what that experience was like. And she didn't want that for me. But I had amazing aunts and uncles and godparents who chose to teach me. So they spoke to me in their homes, and I picked up what I know now. So because of my other family members, I know what I know now. And so even if you're not family, you're a knowledge carrier, and we're all related, so continue to give away the knowledge. And I know that there are some people who hoard that knowledge for whatever reason. And I hope that seeing it as a knowledge carrier, we're reminded we have to give it away, or it's not going to continue to live. Let's see what else. Ine, can you think of anything else that we should cover before we show our trailer? Okay, so we're going to show 2 trailers that are currently online. If you go to the website, The Young Ancestors. And thanks to a Santa Fe Prep parent, Amy Brustra is helping us with this documentary. It was her idea, and we're nourishing it. And so you'll see 2 different ones. And we're not just talking about ourselves, because that's not the idea. The idea is to give more awareness for our languages, all Indigenous languages.